Hi, it's Mike Newton back in the swing studio here. We're just going to have a little discussion today and maybe let's have a little talk about the traditional bladed golf club. Okay, I've just got one in my hand here, which is the Mizuno MP-5, the Tour blade. So it's obviously a very classic golf club, but as many of us know now, there's a lot of these game improvement irons out. These brands are really pushing around the forgiveness of golf clubs, trying to make miss hits better, etc. So it begs the question now: is where is this Tour blade going to go? The traditional blade. I mean, me as a club pro and fitting golfers week in week out, this is a very rare sale nowadays. A lot of people don't sort of go into this Tour blade. Even the sort of low scratch handicap golfers I'm getting, they're going for that more, not necessarily game improvement, but more these sort of small cavity back irons here. So it's interesting to look at the Mizuno DNA fitting cart, which we have here at Barrow Golf Club. And I think just last count, there's 8 different models of irons, which is a lot of irons. It's a lot of choice, and I think can be quite confusing to the consumer. Maybe going on the Mizuno website, you're seeing all this list of irons, and you're thinking, well, which is the right one for me? Obviously, as always, we go and get fit, hopefully, and test them. But I think you look at. I'm just looking at the new JPX-900 range of 3 different irons, and this is really hitting for me all levels of golfers here. You've got the hot metal, the big game improvement iron for maybe the guys who want some distance and some forgiveness. You've then got the sort of forged iron, which is sort of sits in the middle of the 3 irons, which is a little bit neater. You still got a bit of forgiveness there, but that neater look, but that forged head. And then of course you're into like the Tour one, okay, which is again ultra slimmer, slimmer top line, still forged, but very classic sort of looking club. But you have got this little small cavity pocket in the back. Okay, so this is something that you're not getting in a sort of true blade golf club. So you got to think, well, for me, why would you go into something like that when you've got an option of that, which look very, very similar as you presented down by the golf ball? I'll show you some close-up playing positions soon. You got to think, well, why not have that with a little bit of help there? Again, this is definitely it's a personal choice, isn't it? It's a choice of what you really like. Some guys do like this high polished, very classic traditional golf club in the bag. It looks great in the bag, and possibly they're good enough to use that club, in terms of the strike pattern. I think many golfers I see with these in the bag, again, they look fantastic, and they sit there and look at them like that, think great, and oh, that's a beautiful looking golf club, but they can't hit it. They just can't hit the middle consistent enough to get a decent performance out of it. Okay, which I think is where this sort of really sits in. So Mizuno, 8 different models of irons. I think a lot of these irons are overlapping each other, and for me, doing a fitting, I would always generally push somebody into more of this small cavity than the Tour blade, purely because you've just got that little bit of backup there. It makes a lot of sense to me. So I've just hit a batch with the MP-5 here on the GC2. So I'm just going to switch over to the JPX Tour here. I'm going to keep the same shaft. So I'm going to take this shaft out, which is a Project X 6.5 rifle, inch longer. The heads are 2 degrees upright off my DNA fitting cart here. So I'm going to hit a batch with the JPX-900 Tour, and we'll just have a little look at some numbers here. I'll just try and give you a little bit of feedback as what I feel hitting the 2. And obviously hitting the MP-5, it feels beautiful, don't get me wrong. You hit that out of the middle of the golf club, it feels fantastic. It's very, very soft. Mizuno have that strap line, nothing feels like a Mizuno. It's that very buttery sort of feel off the contact. So, but I'll tell you what, if you slightly miss middle, you know about it. Okay, and that is maybe the issue with these Tour blades. Okay, so I'm going to switch the club shaft over into the JPX, and we'll give you a little bit of feedback on that one. Okay, so, oops, got that stuck. So just put the Project X into the JPX-900 Tour head. These are both 6 irons I'm hitting here, which they're both exactly the same lofts at 30 degrees. Okay, so exactly the same here. Obviously just that little bit of a different look here. So I'm going to hit a batch of shots with this JPX. I think as I put that down by the golf ball, it's obviously a different finish. It isn't that high polished finish here, which I like. It's like speckly, silvery, a little bit like a raw sort of finish here, which I think looks looks brilliant. I think it's just really sleek there. And I put that down by the golf ball, and that looks a very classic, you know, it's a thin top line, very little offset on it. It looks a very classic golf club, okay? But I know, because obviously I've seen it, I've got that small cavity behind me, and that I think just gives me a bit of a buffer in a way, that I know that I don't have to hit the middle of the golf club as precisely in a way. Okay, let's hit one with this. Good strike. Okay, feels great. I mean, I middled that, just pulled slightly, but I flushed that, and that felt just as good as the Tour blade there. So I'm going to hit back shots of this, and I'll come back to you shortly. Okay, so here's the two clubs in the playing positions here. So on the left hand side we've got the MP-5, on the right hand side is the JPX-900 Tour. So obviously the biggest difference you're really going to see here is just the finish on it. Obviously on the MP-5 you can see that was real high polished chrome sort of finish there, and obviously on the JPX it's that like little speckly sort of silver sort of finish, which I personally do like. But I think when you look at the sort of top edge, I'll try and get this at the right angle here. You look at the top edges here, and this is sometimes what you always look at. You can probably see there, I think, maybe it's just the way it's shaped, but the JPX on the back there, on the right hand side, actually looks a little bit thinner. So you think this Tour blade is going to be ultra thin top line, but that JPX is actually a little bit thinner. So this is maybe the point I'm making here. You're still getting a very, very classic looking golf club, but you have got that cavity in the back of it. Okay. So just get them from the back angle here. So there's that cavity, there's that finish. Again, really high chrome finish on the MP-5 with that speckly sort of silver raw finish on the JPX. Okay, so both, as you can appreciate, they're really good looking golf clubs. Okay, so there's a batch of shots hit with the JPX-900 Tour. So as I mentioned before, you know, we're talking feel here. Now this is my personal feedback here, and to be honest, the feel between the two are very, very similar. I can't, you know, if I hit that out of the middle, it feels just as good as that MP-5. You know, they're both forged. I think forged heads will always stay. You know, that forged feeling is beautiful. I know Mizuno have got their own sort of what's it called, grain flow forged, you know, so all the grains go in the right direction, so they're claiming it's the purest of all forged clubs really. You know, I think it's hard to maybe sort of actually feel that, but those two feel beautiful. Hit them out in the middle, they feel beautiful. But I know there's a small cavity in this 900, and I know if I'm slightly off with this, I'm going to get a little bit more help than I would do with the MP-5. That's a lot of peace of mind, okay? And that's what I like. Now, I'm a pretty consistent striker of the golf ball. Okay, I don't play a lot of golf, but you know, I am a pretty good striker of the golf ball with an iron. So, you know, even myself being confident I'm hitting middle, and I hit that MP-5 really well, hit it very central. But I always get days, you know, again, when I don't play, I get days when my timing just isn't quite there, and I know that is just going to help me out a little bit more. So for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. You know, JPX 900. I've got the cavity, I've got the forge, box ticked. It's a small little cavity, it's going to help me out, box ticked. It's a neat look behind the ball, because the looks is important. It's got a thin top line, less offset, box ticked. No-brainer. Okay, let's have a quick look at these numbers anyway, and just see if there's actually a performance difference. Okay, so let's have a look at some numbers here. So we've got the MP-5 in the top in the white, JPX-900 Tour in the red there. So we're looking at club head speed, identical. Okay, obviously it uses exactly the same shaft, length, flex, everything. The loss are exactly the same between the two clubs. So ball speed, absolutely the same on average. Efficiency is pretty much the same. Launch is pretty much the same, exactly the same. Side spin's very similar. Backspin, just a little bit more spin with that Tour head there, but only by about 300 revs on average there. Okay, so that just gives, for me personally, I prefer that little bit more spin because I generally produce sort of a lower spin number with my irons. So that little bit more I know will help for it to stop a bit quicker into the green. So that I prefer that a little bit. Distance there, you can see 179, 181. There's not a lot in it there. There's not enough there to think, well, 2 yards more the MP-5. I've got to go with them. You know, you've got to weigh in all the different scenarios here. And I think the fact that it's a cavity, it's still forged. I love the look. I'm going to get helped if I miss the middle. My numbers are as good as the MP-5, but I'm producing a little bit better spin number. And you know, happy days. It's a winner for me all day long. That's going in the bag. Okay, so obviously looking at those numbers then, you probably expect they're going to be pretty similar. You know, they're very similar sort of style of golf clubs here. They're both aimed at pretty much the same level of golfer. The lofts are exactly the same, so you're not really going to maybe see a massive amount of difference in these actual numbers. It all comes back to look and personal preference. Okay, but what I maybe would say, if you're a golfer out there playing with a bladed set of golf clubs, you know, you may be a very traditional person, very traditional golfer, and you know, you think, well, blades, that is the proper way to play golf. If I don't hit the middle, it's my fault, I should get punished. Absolutely fine, totally get that. But then again, I think look at where technology is going, you know, and you look at the players on tour, there's a lot of players switching to these sort of golf clubs, these small cavities, even sometimes in the longer irons, they're going into the big game improvement irons, which you think, well, why do they need to do it? Because they obviously strike it very consistent. But you know, even those boys, you know, they're playing fantastic golfers, you know, but they're playing for a lot of money and a lot of sort of earnings and points and order of merits and all that, you know, and they want that particular shot where they don't hit the middle, they want to be helped out, you know, and I think that should be the same with all golfers. But what I say here is, if you're a golfer with a set of blades, and you may have your sort of traditional there, well, I want a blade, that's it, you know, don't entertain anything. But I would just go and hit that and test it against it, just for peace of mind. Let yourself have a look. And you may think, well, it's just as good, maybe like these numbers here, but I'm still happy with my blades. Absolutely fine. I would just say, go and test it, go and try it. It's definitely worth trying, because I think if you test it on your off-centre hits, you're going to get a bit more out of that. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you found this video interesting. Please subscribe. Button should be just up somewhere around here. Hit the subscribe button so you can get notified of more videos like this. I'm going to try and keep posting as many as I can. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you all very soon.